What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and today we're talking about the 10 cards that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player last month. And I'm going to tell you right now, every month when we do this video series, I walk away with some incredible learnings. It is fascinating to see the cards that are selling in such high velocity on TCG Player. Now, when you think about it, eBay is obviously the world's largest marketplace for buying and selling Pokemon cards, but in second place comes TCG Player. And so whenever I can get information straight from there, I think it is incredibly valuable. And I promise you, there is some awesome stuff on this list, and there is also some amazing cards that have fallen off this list. Now, we're not just going to talk about the singles cards. I also am going to include the price graph for the booster box down in the left-hand corner because I think that's important to talk about. Or if it comes from a set that only has ETBs like 151, we'll look at the ETB price. And then I also have this star system, right? So it's important for me to understand how many months in a row a card has been on this list because that shows long-term trends and long-term excitement and long-term, just buying and selling a whole lot of it over a course of period of time. So I think it's really important to have that star system up there. So we're going to be talking about that a lot. Now, as I said, we always talk about what's on the list, but we also talk about what is off the list. And last month, we saw two 151 cards come off the list. We saw the Charizard EX, the big chase card, and we also saw the Charmander card come off the list. But what really shocked me was this month we had four more. The final four 151 cards that were on the list fell off. There is no 151 cards on the list this month. Now, that's not a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. All it means is that other cards have been selling with higher velocity on TCG Player. I will say this, like the sealed product market for 151 is probably at a point right now. There's not a ton out there. I was in a Target the other day and I saw a Zapdos EX box, but I think a lot of people are holding this product. So again, it's been out for a while. I'm sure a lot of people have ripped it. I'm sure a lot of people have the cards that they want. And so now a lot of the sealed collectors are probably holding on to it. So we're still going to see the product ripped, but I just don't think that it's going to be buying and selling quite as much as it has in the past. Now, it'll be interesting to see if we get a restock in the English market like we have seen in the Japanese market further on into the year. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I did think this was a big takeaway. The only four cards to come off the list from last month to this month were 151 cards, which is absolutely fascinating. So now, one more thing we have to do before we get into the actual list itself is, listen, it is time to announce the contest winners for us hitting the 5,000 subscriber mark, and I could not be more thankful to all of you out there. The comments were fantastic. It was great to get to interact with a whole bunch of you. So without further ado, let's look at the three winners. Now, here they are right here. Congratulations to Max Power TCG. Congratulations to Spear Gaming down there. And then congratulations to Take It Easy Bra. He's all up in our Discord, always contributing. So really, really excited to see the winner right there. Now, the order in which I drew these was the prize that you won. So guess what? Here are the prizes for everybody right here. We got the PikaPikaPaPa 1 of 1 merch going there. We got the Pikachu V Union box, and then Take It Easy Bras taking home the big prize, which is the Evolving Skies Elite Trainer box. So congratulations to all the winners. I can't wait to get this out to you. My email is in the description of this video, so go ahead and send an email to us, or if you're in the Discord, you can go ahead and reach out to me personally, and I'll make sure that you get your cool stuff. One other thing I wanted to say before we get into the video is, hey, listen, if you haven't noticed, over the last month or so, my thumbnail game has been on point. It has gone from probably the worst of the worst to a whole new level. So I just want to give a special shout out to BA Team Player. He has been helping me a ton with the thumbnails. He said, hey, listen, I love your content, but your thumbnails suck. So the link to his channel is in the description down below as well. And listen, he does the most amazing things with Pokemon cards from an animation standpoint. So it's no surprise that the thumbnails are so good. So check out the Pokemon card animations the guy does. He does a lot helping me out behind the scenes. So hey, show him a little love because he frees me up to do more data dives for all of you out there. Now, with all of that out of the way, we're building an amazing community. If you like this video, if you like this channel and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. But with all of that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into the top 10 cards that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player. And it is awesome to say this, to plant the flag in the sand and say, guess what? Lugia card is officially back from Silver Tempest. If you watch this channel for over, a year, this card was on the list for a long, long time. Then it fell off for a couple months, but it is officially back. And this price trend that you'll see down here, okay, so the middle one is the price trend for the card itself. You will see that it hit this bottom, or at least a recent bottom there in January of this year, and it has been working its way up. I promise you, we've been doing this video for like 15 months consecutively now. Whenever we start to see it climb up like this, it usually continues for a while. Plus, Sword and Shield is incredibly hot right now. This is obviously a big alt art from that era, so I think this card has got some room to run in front of it. It's been on here 2 months in a row. Really excited to see this card on here, and I think it's got some growth ahead ahead of it. Now, the next one right here, I love this card. I love Ray. Obviously, everybody loves Evolving Skies. You know, I was fortunate enough to pull this card, send it into PSA, get it graded in a 10. My 4-year-old actually pulled this card, which was a really exciting moment for all of us. But look at the way the price has performed really over the last 30 days, or maybe even 15 days. That price graph is pretty compressed. It has absolutely shot up from a near 1-year low all the way up to a near 1-year high in a span of 30 days. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the Evolving Skies booster box right there. We all know it's been going crazy over the last 90 so days. It is starting to flatten out a little bit, which I think is really, really interesting. And I have some thoughts on that coming out, believe it or not, in a Sun and Moon video that we're doing later this week, but I found some interesting trends that I'm correlating between the two, so it's really interesting to talk about that. But again, this card is on the list. It was on the list many moons ago, but it's been off for quite a while, but all the love and attention around Evolving Skies has popped this card back up, and I have no doubt I think this card is going to continue to do really well because Evolving Skies is a freight train and nothing's going to slow that down. Now, the new king of the list right here, it has been on here for 7 consecutive months. Listen, I know it is not the biggest and the baddest Zard out there, but this Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames just will not fall off the list. People love it. People are buying it. I think it's because the price is so approachable right now. It's in high demand, but the price is only at $45. Obsidian Flames booster boxes are still relatively cheap, so I don't think the price on this is going to change anytime soon, but I do think that it's really interesting to see that even though this might not go down as the best Charizard chase card of all time, it has had a ton of love and a ton of attention over the last 7 months, and who knows what will happen in the end. Like, who knows what's going to happen a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, but at least right now it's a great opportunity to pick up a really cool Charizard card at a very affordable price. Now, the next one we're talking about right here, coming in at number 7, hey, I have made no bones about it. You know that this is my favorite card from the Sword and Shield era. You know I love the Gengar, the Giratina, and that Brion. Obviously, those are what I think are going to shape out to be the big 3 chase cards from Sword and Shield. Spoiler alert, you might see the other 2 later on in this video because I'm not the only one who thinks that, right? People are buying and selling these Sword and Shield big chase cards like absolute craziness, okay? Again, here, look at that price graph. Same thing that we just saw with the Ray, right? Like, this thing is absolutely shot out of a cannon. As the booster box price for Fusion Strike has shot up, so has the price for this chase card. It's been on here 2 months in a row. I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, but for me, it's going to be fascinating to try and understand how high is. Like, how high can this possibly go? And I mean, right now, this is more expensive than a booster box, which isn't uncommon, but it's really interesting to see that this chase card shot up almost in unison with the booster box. So excited to see where this will end up in the next couple months. And then again, as I said, spoiler alert, here is the Giratina. Now, what's interesting to me is that this card is still below its 1-year high. Now, the booster box is up above its 1-year high, but this card is still below a 1-year high. So if you're a believer in this, if you think that, hey, this thing is absolutely going to tranche that 1-year high, then hey, you can still get in below what it was before. It's been on here 5 months in a row. Obviously, the excitement around this card, the excitement around Lost Origin, I think a lot of us are thinking it's going to be Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, and Evolving Skies as the 1, 2, 3 big sets. But then you got Brilliant Stars, which could make a big push, and Chilling Reign is nothing to sleep on either. What an awesome era we're in the middle of right now with Sword and Shield. What an exciting time to be in this hobby with all of these sets kind of sunsetting and all of these amazing alt art. So I will say this, one of my favorite things about this card is when we did a comparison video, we looked at all of the big chase cards from the Sword and Shield era. We looked at their PSA 10 population. We looked at the total cards graded, and that gave us the PSA 10 gem rate. Out of all of the big chase cards in Sword and Shield era, this one had the lowest gem rate, coming in at under 48%. So yes, more Lost Origin is going to be opened. Yes, more of these are going to be submitted to PSA, but the gem rate is not going to fundamentally change because so many have already been sent in. The gem rate kind of is what it is at this point. So I do feel good that even though the population will increase, we won't see it increase like tenfold or anything like that in the short amount of time. So I thought that was a big call out when we're talking about this card. Now, coming in at number 5, I was not surprised at all to see an A-Spec on this list. We all know that, listen, Temporal Forces dropped out these A-Specs, and they are incredibly powerful and incredibly cool cards. But the big thing is you can only have 1 per deck. Now, you know I don't know anything about the Pokemon game itself. I'm strictly on the collecting side of things. But since you can only have 1 of these in per deck, I don't think we're going to see the big push that we traditionally see when cards that are driven by gameplay are on this list. Because, hey, listen, regular cards, you can have 4 per deck, so people are out there buying and selling a ton of them. These A-Specs, 1 per deck, so yeah, it's on the list this month. People were out there getting maximum belt nice and early. I don't know how long it will be able to hold its water here, but at least it popped up once, and I'm excited to see it on here and excited to see any gameplay cards on the list. I love that. I think it's just healthy for the overall hobby. Now, coming in at number 4, while I wasn't surprised to see an A-Spec card on here, I was kind of shocked to see this Iono from Paldean Fates come in at the number 4 spot. One of the things that was interesting to me is the price is really, really low, and as far as I'm concerned, coming in at $36, but it is also flattened out relatively fast. A lot of times we see this Pokemon pop and flop. We've seen it in some of the earlier examples where it'll come out at a set, it starts up super high, and then it plummets, and it usually doesn't plummet for a couple weeks, right? Usually we get 6, 8, sometimes 10 months of a very expensive or big chase card normalizing over time, right? That Charizard from Obsidian Flames is still slowly working its way down, but this Iono card is already starting to flatten out, and I think Iono is still super popular, obviously an incredibly playable Pokemon card right there, and I just think that it's the price is so low, right? 36 bucks, it's not nothing, but it's certainly not a $50, $80, $100 card, so I think $36 for, you know, an awesome card like this in Iono makes sense, and that's probably the only reason it's flattened out as early as it has, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it. We'll see if this card remains on this list. We'll see if interest remains high, because certainly Iono is a big name right now and certainly an awesome playable card. The next one right here, you know how excited I get whenever the Charizard from the base set ends up on this list, because for me, that just shows that people aren't just focused on ultra modern, people are focused on the hobby as a whole, and this is, to me, is an investment piece, obviously. You're out here spending $380, $400 on a raw card from the Origin set, the biggest and the baddest. It has been on here 3 months in a row. I love the fact that it got up to a 1-year high, and now it's leveling off. It didn't pop up and then drop back down. It is leveling off in that $400 range, which is significantly higher than it was leveling off at earlier in this year. You'll see it leveled off around $360, $370, right? Now it's starting to work its way up to that $400 range. Again, I think this is awesome. I think it shows strength in the collecting and investing side of things. I love seeing playable cards on here, and I love seeing cards like this on here. The big dog of them all, the Charizard from base set. Absolutely love it. 3 months in a row gets me all kinds of excited. And hey, maybe it'll be a $400 card next time we take a look at this, all right? Coming in at number 2, excuse me, we talked about playable cards, Iron Hands EX, obviously purely driven by playability right now. And I will say this, even though this card is driven by playability, even though we see cards that are driven by playability on this list a lot, we rarely see one all the way up at number 2. So exciting to see this card here at number 2. This isn't something that I think we're going to be able to invest in. I do think that obviously this is only driven by playability, people buying them really quickly in order to fill up the decks, getting ready for some big bad tournaments that are coming up ahead of us. So it won't be there long, but hey, listen, enjoy the sunshine. If you're like me and you're just an investor collector and you were opening some Paradox Rift and you got a couple of these, strike while the iron is hot. You can get about 20 bucks a pop. So if you're not putting them in a deck, great opportunity to sell these to some people who will enjoy them and put them into practice. And that's what this hobby is all about. That's what I get so excited about. So many different ways to love, you know, these cards and to find different ways to find value in them. And then number 1, no surprise, what can I say? The Moon Brion, right? I mean, it's been on here 6 months in a row. We see the incredible price spike right there, just like we saw with the Rayquaza earlier in this video, just like we see with the Evolving Skies booster boxes. This card is a freight train. Nothing is going to stop it. It is going to be fascinating to see how high is. Now, I will say this card has been on this list for 6 consecutive months. Every month I give you an update on the total PSA 10 population and how that population has changed month over month. Not because I think it's a bad thing or anything, but I do think it's interesting. And I will say this, from last month till now, we have seen almost 400 additional PSA 10s of this come into population. Why? Because people who've probably been sitting on some minty copies in their personal collection or in their binders, when they see the price spike like this, they're like, man, I'm gonna get in on this PSA grading trend, and they're sending it in to get it graded. Now, 300 or about 400 is the biggest jump we've seen since November. So as Evolving Skies continues to get hot, as the price for this card continues to rise, it's gonna be interesting to see if that, the population continues to get higher and higher. I will say this, and I've said it before, as Evolving Skies sealed product continues to get more expensive, I don't think we're going to see many more of these at least being opened. Not a lot of people are out there ripping $700 Evolving Skies booster boxes, especially since pull rates are what they are. They're not the best in the world. So it's going to be interesting to see how this population changes. It's going to be in the 11,000 range. Who knows how high it's going to get to, 12,000, 13,000, 15,000. All I know is this is the big chase card from one of the best eras we had in recent memory, from one of the greatest sets in recent memory. I don't think it can outpopulation demand. I think this card's going to be fine in the long run, and I'm just excited to be a part of this and to watch it grow along the way. So as I said, listen, congratulations to all the winners from this video. If you made it to the end and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.